Hey everyone, it's Missy. I'm going to be in the Twin Cities area November 14th through the 18th, offering private and group readings. Visit MissyRenoSmith.com to book. Hello and welcome back to In Spirit with Missy Reno Smith. Today I am talking to spiritual author and businessman Roger Fiola, who is also a very good friend of mine. Hi, Roger.
Hi, how you doing, Missy?
I'm doing really good. Glad to have you on the show. I've been excited to bring you on for a while, so it's really, really great that you're able to take some time to sit down with me today. Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. The pleasure is all mine. So nice to see you on video.
Yeah, we've had a lot of calls together, but usually we were just usually audio and that. So, but we've known each other for over 10 years now. Definitely over 10. How many years do you think?
It's probably a little bit more like 12. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably, we were working together for 2 or 3 years. So
yeah, we were working on collaborating. We never quite got there. But
not yet.
Oh, that's actually a good way to put it. Not yet. I think we can get there still. But something I noticed about the time we've known each other, you had put out your first book around that time or shortly after. And we're coming up to, I think, the 10-year anniversary of your first book, which is Traveler's Tale. And the first book is Discovering's One Man's Adventure into the Mind of Christ. So I think that was August of 2015 when that came out. So how do you feel about that, the 10-year anniversary?
I guess it doesn't seem like it was that long. And of course, I was working on that book. I actually started, I think, around 2011 on that. So it's been a journey that's gone a little bit longer than that, maybe as much as 14 years since I began the whole concept of that.
Well, it's a really interesting series. It blends your sort of historical knowledge and spiritual. I don't know, I would call it fiction, but it's a blending of things. It's not just a historical telling. It's also kind of your spiritual imaginings.
Well, what happened was, and of course, this is a kind of a Catholic thing, the Ignatian spirituality. One of the exercises that St. Ignatius had way back 500, 600 years ago was to take a piece of scripture, a Bible story, and then imagine yourself in that story. What's that like? What's the smells? So that thing, which actually, those exercises, which I took in the late 90s, actually informed this whole book. And when my spiritual director, I told her, I think it began with this one conversation in which I told her, I said, I can't sit still to do meditation. I'm too ADHD. It's very, very difficult for me to do it. I can do it much better now, but then I was having trouble with it. And she goes, then don't do that. Just go in, start with the Gospel of Mark, write it from the viewpoint of everybody that you know, or everybody that's in that scene. And then that gave rise to this book of, well, what is the mystical journey except yourself experiencing directly the divine, which in this case was the experience of Jesus and his followers. So I created this everyman character called Traveler. He had another name in the 20th century, but they called him Traveler. And he goes back in time. And, that's a bit of a jump of imagining. But anyway, it serves, it's a literary device. It's to serve the allegory. To serve the whole allegory of the spiritual journey, of the mystical journey of directly encountering God. And he does it takes it out of the abstract and puts it into the very flesh and blood real. And I think that's, if we've had a mystical experience, how visceral it really is, how, it's real. Yes. And you and I have even done some work on that,
Well, I'm really big on that, making, taking it out of that abstract, that sort of, I can't quite imagine, I can't quite, relate to it. And so we need to make it relatable. And it sounds like that's what you're doing, is you're making it relatable. I had to laugh though, when you were talking about using, your imagination, because that is such a Roger thing to do. I remember back, you telling me stories about when you were a child and how you would kind of act out these very grand adventures in your backyard. And
Yes.
so I think it's really cool. You kind of used that inner child part of you to sort of help you make it here. And yeah, it's wonderful that you made that jump. I can't sit there and meditate and think about nothing. Who can,
Well, you can do that, but it does
difficult.
take a lot of practice. It does take a lot
really
of practice.
Yeah.
Outside of a monastery.
Yeah, I really think that meditation should be more of a focused thinking rather than, just nothing and trying to reach up. But most people, that's what they need. And so, okay, so tell me then, what came next for you then when you decided to kind of follow your imagination, put yourself in the situation, and then make that jump to the book? How did that work?
Oh, it was very powerful. When she gave me this suggestion, start with the Gospel of Mark, I was on retreat, so I went right back to the room, and you're not supposed to bring your laptops on retreat, but I did, and I started in on it right then and there, and it was, and before I knew it, I had 100,000 words, which that's a full-size book. Yeah, it needed lots of editing, and we never used much of it. But what happened was, it was this sort of stream that just came out of me, and it was almost, without trying to sound too new agey, but it was almost a channeling type of thing. It was something that I just felt, it just came down and fell onto the paper. And then that very first book, and I worked with a writing coach after that, Ellen Gunter, who's brilliant, and she helped me pare it down and make it into a tighter narrative. And then after that, I went on to the other parts of the life of Christ, and each book has a name. It's all Traveler's Tale, but the first one is Discoverings, because that's the beginning of the spiritual journey, is always discovering that there is this deeper self within us that is available to us. And then Openings is the next book that takes it up to the Transfiguration of Christ, if you're a biblical student. And that is about, once you discover it's there, you open yourself to it. You open yourself, you surrender to God, to the divine, to inform you. The third book, which deals with the crucifixion, is called Amendings, because after we get into ourselves and we get ourselves open to the divine and we're open to God, what naturally comes is this amendings, the healing that comes from all of that. And it's and symbolized in the crucifixion, which is a horrible, violent event, and it's represented that way in the book. Doesn't really pull any punches, but because Traveler is right there with the Christ, with Jesus as he's going through all of this. So it's a very powerful emotional thing, but it's also the healing begins, the healing of our souls begin then. And then Returnings is the hero, after going through all of his trials, always returns home. What do you come back with? And that's how the series ends in book 4. So in any case, that's the whole experience. It is 4 books, and that's a big commitment for somebody to make. I've been asked to reduce it to 1 by author James Finley. He said, I think you should reduce it to 1. and perhaps I should, but I'm not there just yet. But maybe after I'm finished with, I have one book in editing right now, and after I'm done with that and get it published, I may go back and reduce it to one book and just make it a little bit more user friendly. But to me, you have to go through the contemplative journey is always something that takes time. It takes, and
I agree.
It can't be rushed.
Yeah, so. I agree with that, because you know, as you're reading the book, you are going through the journey with him, and you need time to sort of take it all in and reflect in between, you know, before you get to the next one. So, but I don't know. Yeah, reducing it down to one book might actually be helpful for some people, though. You know, if you've got it in 4 parts, you know, they can take some time in between. But yes. I like it the way it is. You know,
I do too.
Yeah, I like it the way it is.
I do too. It needs probably, you know, some, who knows what it needs. But I think at this point, it's just, I think if you're looking for something that's not dogmatic, that's not, it adheres to the tradition. It's not that it's threatening anybody's religiosity or your beliefs or anything. I stick pretty close to the Bible. I make up a few parts about the Magdalene and that because there is no information about her. So, but there's different, and there's a lot of scenes that are just, you know, come from my imagination, but it adheres more or less to the Gospels. And so I think somebody with a very traditional look at religion wouldn't have a real problem with it. But also, too, those that are not Christian or that belong to other religions or no religion would still find that, yeah, this speaks to a universality of faith that belongs to all of us, all 8 billion of us. And and then, you know, and then I think that's probably one of its key values. And it sort of led to the next book, which I'm currently working on.
No, I agree. Yeah, there are a lot of people, they're moving away from the church, or they're not going to start. They've never been there. And so I think it's important that we share faith with everyone. I think these books are helpful to people. If you're not so sure, I don't know, check it out. I think it's important. So
I think it's to, you know, they always say your first book is pretty much autobiographical, and any spiritual book, I don't see how you can leave yourself out as an author.
Oh, you can't.
You're like in your work, you're very entrained, I think is the word you use. You're very, very involved in it's yourself. I'm very woven into all of those pages, my experiences and I share qualities with a lot of the characters because and experiences.
Jack, the character Jack himself is a businessman.
I modeled him a little bit after me. In fact, some people ask me, they go, "I didn't know that you were in insurance." I go, "I'm not in insurance, but I had to come up with something different."
Right.
And his wife is a nurse, and they said, "I didn't know Lainey was my wife. Lainey was a nurse," and I said, "She's not a nurse." So I mean, there is parts of it that is fiction, but people do believe that they are reading about you, and it's kind of funny. I think that's kind of funny, but I think it is, but it speaks to the fact that it is personal, and it led me to this whole thing. What I wanted to do was make Jesus of Nazareth accessible to people without a lot of dogma and a lot of traditions and a lot of stuff attached to him, because here was a great, great wisdom teacher, whether you're Christian or not. In Christian, you can believe he was divine. If you're not Christian, here was the presence of a great wisdom teacher that had something, that still has something to say to us. So, which led to the next book, which I'm working on right now, and it's got a very ambitious title. It's called Indwelling the Divine Within You and the Future of God. So that's a big topic, but it is, I think, where we're headed. I think this experience of God within us is so profound. And that's what came to me through this experience of writing these books, is this feeling of God within me. Every religion teaches it. They all teach that the divine resides within us.
Yeah, we're all God experiencing God. We're a piece of God.
Beautiful, beautiful. And love experiencing love, and love seeking love. And that's really what the next book does, is it explores that, but it uses Jesus's wisdom teachings, his parables. And what I do is I retell them. Because I have to use my imagination, as you know. Yes. So I retell the parables with modern characters and modern situations, and hopefully rendering the teachings in a new light, in a new way that may
usable.
Not have been
usable. How do I apply what is in the Bible to my current modern life?
Yes, I know. Yeah. What does the parable of the weeds mean? What does the parable of the lampstand mean? What does the prodigal son really mean? What does the lilies of the field really mean? So that's what all of these things, these retellings do, is they kind of paint that in a familial way, how in relating to your family and relating to politics and relating to yourself. Yes. And these characters are all going through situations that we all go through. And I think it's a new kind of teaching. It's not new, because people have been teaching with parables for years, but it's going to be kind of, I think, innovative. And
got a new take.
Yeah, and I think it may be this experience of God, and then finding community where people are experiencing God in the same way, may be the future of God, the future of the worship of God, say, in times ahead. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. It's like I said, I think it's going to be out in 2026. But
right, editing is a long process. It's huge.
It is. And it's I've redone it several times and went through different people and that kind of stuff. So, and everybody's got different ideas, but I think we're going to stick to the original idea that I had for it. And I think it's going to be, hopefully very helpful. As I see myself at this point in life, in my 8th decade, I'm in my 70s now. As I see the time I have left, is besides doing my business, which I have to do, is kind of creating these books that may point to ways to help people address that thing that we're so impoverished with in this culture. And that, as I see it, is the fact that, there's no way to dialogue with the spiritual within. Everything is on the outside. It's all, what's on my screens or what's going on out there. And and without accessing this deeper part of it, it makes the rest of it very, very, very difficult to deal with.
How do you do that? Like, what's your daily practice to sort of connect?
Okay. It hasn't changed since 2011. Actually, before that, it's probably been going on for 20 years or more. I start the day by doing this writing. Well, sometimes I do a meditation practice before, because I can do that now. I wasn't able to do that back then, but now I can kind of do it. And then I do this writing, and I'll tell you, after I do the writing for an hour or 2 hours, I take on just about anything during the day. It is so, I hate to use the word therapeutic, because then it sounds like it's a psychological thing. It is something like touching base with what's real. And when you touch base with what's real, then you can move on to other things. Then you can move on through the problems that you're faced with during the day. And it's just not that things solve themselves or become any easier, but your attitude towards them, my attitude towards them, is different. So
I do that too. As you know, I do that too. I do a lot of writing, and as a matter of fact, a lot of our conversations would happen immediately after your writing session. And then we would talk, and And perhaps that's
and we would go places that I had no idea we were going to go.
we went
That's
so
the
many
adventure.
places.
That's the adventure of Missy Reno Smith. Is you
Mhm.
never know exactly where the Spirit is going to lead you. And
That's being open. Yeah, we just go where we go, and that's how I live my life. But yeah, I like to do that too. But you wouldn't guess what I do. My part of my spiritual practice now is every day I get up with my husband and we go hiking in the desert. So if you can imagine me hiking, and something I wouldn't have been able to do like 10 years ago, and that just to my health issues and that, but I can do it now. And so I love going out there, connecting, and the animals love to like come up to me. We see all sorts of animals when I'm there. My husband doesn't see them when I'm not there, so he thinks there's something to that. But yeah. So, and I know that you're big on nature and getting out there. You mentioned your retreats, going to a retreat. I thought, oh, that's so Roger, you know. You do a lot of retreats. Yeah,
I absolutely do that. And talk about the desert. One of the things I went through in 1997, and I'm dating myself, but I've already told you that I'm in my 70s. But in 1997, Father Richard Rohr, who is a very great theologian down in New Mexico, used to hold these male initiation retreats at Ghost Ranch in New Mexico. Absolutely gorgeous place, that mesas and everything, high desert, 7,000 feet, and used multiple movies. It's used in almost every Western I've ever seen. But in any case, we went there for a week, and that was kind of one of the beginnings of this change in me, because one of his things, I hope I'm not giving it away, but the last day you spend the entire day in a place by yourself. You draw a sacred circle and you stay within that circle. And it was absolutely amazing, because first of all, I was hyper. So I would walk around. I I didn't go outside, but I walk around the rim of the circle. I just paced around it.
Your ADD,
yeah, I had to do that. But then after a while, I sort of relaxed into it. And there was this thunderstorm, New Mexico with its thunderstorms like Arizona. These thunderstorms came up in the afternoon. And I thought, oh boy, am I going to get struck by lightning? What's going to happen here? And then I thought, no, just relax with it. This is your God time. Just let whatever happen. So it rained on me. And then right after that, this huge elk, I mean, he was massive, came up and he just sort of looked at me. And it's like, and as I looked at him, I used this in one of my books. As I looked at him, I thought, I'm looking into the eyes of God. And it was just the most beautiful moment. And then he bounded the hill that I struggled to climb up. He bounded down that hill like in a few seconds. And I thought, this is his place, not mine. And you see, it was just we're all made for certain things. And I thought, and I don't know, it was just a profound moment. And I would really say that was one of the turning points for me in my spirituality, was spending that time on that hill that afternoon. So I'm thankful to Father Rohr for that. So,
how do you sort of blend that with your Catholic faith?
Well, it's, the Catholic, I believe the church is there to serve your spiritual needs. And so where Catholicism fits, then that fits. Where it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. I don't, they call us cafeteria Catholics. We kind of pick and choose what we want. And then I don't really.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, it's like I really, there's so much of it that's archaic and probably needs revision, but that's not my job, is to decide what needs revision and what doesn't. I enjoy going there and being in the presence of other people that are there to love God. And that's the reason I'm there. And I do my readings. I read for the congregation, and I enjoy doing that. And it is a sort of a meditation in itself, but it's all of the dogma and the doctrines and all that kind of stuff of any of religion, I find a little bit tiresome. I don't, and it kind of gets in the way of.
I think it really does. Yeah, gets in the way.
it gets in the way. And, one of the things I think in spirituality is you have to remove these obstructions. You have to get what doesn't work out of the way so that you can do what the second book calls opening. So you can do that opening, or even the discoverings. Even the discoveries. What am I holding on to that's keeping me from seeing the wow of life that's right here in front of me? And there's so much we carry with us that just obstructs our view. And
we carry lots of traumas, big traumas, little traumas. They pile on top of each other. And, if we just let go of that and just belief systems too. We sometimes carry things that get in the way. We can't see because we keep thinking it has to look like this. And if it doesn't, we miss it. But no, I agree. And, I say this all the time to people, just, when I'm doing readings, and I take what works and leave the rest. If what I'm saying doesn't work for you, just leave it. Just
I remember you saying.
Yeah. It's easy as that. And I'm not offended if something I say isn't working. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. I think that we should approach religion that way as well. Personally, that's my personal feeling. And it sounds like you practice that yourself. What's working for me and what isn't working for me, and just focus on what does. You clear a lot of stuff away. A lot of baggage gets cleared away when you just focus on what works and start from there, and deal with the rest when you can, if you need to, or if you've just let it go and it doesn't matter anymore, then leave it. But no, I think it's wonderful that you do that. I think I agree though what you're saying though too. Is it one person's job to say what is right and what is wrong and what should be reformed and what shouldn't? And I feel that way myself too. I'm not here to say, everything has to go, or,
No.
This is what works for me. I share it with you. If it works for you, great. If not, find something that does.
I think we have sort of a responsibility, because let's face it, there's a lot of faith journeys. There's 8 billion faith journeys going on, and they wouldn't even call them faith journeys. But, some people are very secular and they don't believe that there is such a thing as a faith journey, but there are 8 billion faith journeys. People are trying to find the meaning in their life and going on right now in the world. And then, of course, if we take your cosmology, there's a lot of other faith journeys going on in the trillions and trillions in other worlds. But
I love that term, by the way. You said that to me 10 years ago, Missy's cosmology. And I walked away from that conversation and like, I have a cosmology.
You have a very definite cosmology, which is fascinating. But there is all of these faith journeys, and we all have to find our path. So
that's how I put it too. Like, some of us are walking well-worn paths, paths that many have walked before us, and our steps are different on that path. But some of us are walking out in the grass, and that's kind of where I walk. Is I stick to the grass and I just find my own way. But I agree with you. Everybody's on their own personal journey.
They're on it, and our responsibility in loving one another is to say, okay, I respect that. Yes. I may not agree with all of it, because there's some pretty harsh, religions and stuff out there that do things that I don't necessarily agree with. But it's not. Everybody has to find their way, and that's what I think I try to do in the books. Is I try to find a way that everybody can sort of fit into that, and they can take from it what they can get. If you're just at the very literal level, then it's just the experience of what would it be like to go and meet Jesus personally? What would that feel like?
Sure.
And that's at the basic level. And then the rest of it, if you wanted to go to the allegorical thing, is, okay, this is the mystical journey. It is about being receptive to what is, to seeing how God manifests to you in other people, in love, and in relationship to nature, and in relationship to other people, and even other times, and to understand people in other times, which is very difficult to do. Because we all think that everybody should think exactly the way we think in the 21st century, but human beings had to take thousands of steps before they could get to that point where we're at right now. So anyway, I think that's kind of where I see as the rest of the vocation of my life is to just sort of communicate ways in which anybody can tap into whatever level of, to write literature or write things that anybody can tap into, and they can pull out what they need. That the divine can use me for that. And that's what I believe the whole purpose of the indwelling is to discover the divine within you, to open to it, to use the other books theories, to open to it and to make amends, to let that heal you so that you can return, or you can take it out and put it into the world. And what you do so beautifully in your work, you're very, you're just you apparently resolved all of that stuff very early in life, and you're able to very generously let that flow out of you.
I think I came in, I think I did it a long time ago, and I just came in this way because it's
this time, yeah.
You know, I don't know, like we all have a path, and I just think my personal path was, but what I'm hearing you say is that you've taken on a mantle, and that's your role, that's your job, that's you, and you've got to accomplish it. You've got to, it's something that's inside of you, and you can't rest until you have it out. And you've been working on that, and you have a lot of it out, but there's more to come, which is amazing. And so I think that's when I'm hearing you talking, that's what I'm hearing you say, is that, you know, I have a mantle, and I'm working with God, and I'm here to live my purpose, which is what I'm all about, is helping people.
You know, that's
such
an interesting statement. I'm working with God. That just sounds, I mean, I sure hope so, but who the heck knows? See, and I think that's the big dilemma of any spiritual writer is, first of all, as you know, you get stuff from other places that you don't realize is even that you have access to. So when you get stuff and you channel, I mean, I hate to use that word, but I'm going to. If you sort of get this stuff the old saying, any author, any good writer knows that in essence, they're really just taking dictation because it's coming from somewhere else, your muse, whatever you want to call it. But but I believe that that is the expression of the divine coming out from within us. That all creativity, the divine is creativity. God is creativity, and that is the creativity that's coming up from within you. So therefore, when you write this stuff down, or when I write this stuff down, you immediately question it. You think, well, is this A, does it make any sense? B, is it going to make any sense to anybody else? C, is this really true? You know, you're going through these questions, and I think it kind of creates a vulnerability that others can critique it or whatever, and you think, oh, well, maybe there is something to what they're saying or whatever. And I think what is so important is that we trust the divine within us,
right?
To let that out. And I think you really do that in your work.
I don't question. I don't question.
You don't. You really don't.
No, I don't question. I do have hang-ups about other people. You know, I just don't like other people putting negative energy on me and my stuff. But I have to have methods to get past that, which I do. My husband is a big part of that. But I don't really question what comes through, but I think I've really learned how to separate. You're saying sometimes you don't know where it's coming from. I do know where it's coming from. And so I don't really relate to that experience personally, but I could understand. I think I could maybe try to put myself in those shoes where I might. And I think that would create a bit of a block. So so when you get to that point, when you just trust, you know, that indwelling, that what you're talking about, that's a really important point to get to. It takes away a lot of the a lot of the noise, I think, that we can get in our head and from outside of us. But yeah, I don't know. I know when I got my people, I know when I've got God, I know, and I just, whatever it is, I just trust it. So
it's well, I think it took me a whole year, Missy. It took me a whole year. I finished this indwelling book. I didn't have that with the Traveler series. I kind of, that was a very powerful lead that was going on with that. I just knew that's where
I have another word for you. You even mentioned this word earlier. You didn't like the word channel. You just use entrain. I'm in training with the divine. Yes. I'm entrained with the divine. You're not channeling anything. You don't have to worry about that word. Use the word that works for you, Roger.
I like entrained. That works. Anyway, but it took me a year. I signed on, and lovely lady, and I signed on with a kind of a writing coach to help me get this published. Yeah. And she wanted it more to go towards a spiritual memoir, which it wasn't. And that just threw me off, and for a whole year. Sure. And I tried, and we just parted ways a few weeks ago, and suddenly it's like all of this is pouring out of me again. So I think it is trusting the indwelling. It is trusting the indwelling, and you do personify that. And at your, but I think it took, in your parlance, it took a lot of lifetimes to get to that.
A lot. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I also don't mean to say that I haven't, learned lessons in my life, my current life. Of course, I have learned lessons and stuff, but I've just always had a knowing, and nothing could shake it. Nothing can shake it. It's just there. It's like, it's the rock that I'm built on. I don't know. It's just part of me. And I can't get rid of it, and I can't stop sharing it. It's my mantle. It's what I'm supposed to do. I'm here to show and tell the world all about God and heaven and angels and everyone, and share how things work. The mechanics of heaven and this world, and because I think that brings us comfort when we understand everything. But I just trust it.
I've seen your work give people tremendous levels of comfort. I mean, I think that is another expression of God is love, through the love that we have for each other, but being able to heal, to help people heal, to help the divine within them heal themselves. I've seen it firsthand, you doing that. And I mean, that it is a tremendous gift. And I know there's a lot of folks that out there that have their suspicions about it, but I've seen it work for good. And it's not, and it's phenomenal, really, if you witness it, because what you're able to tell people, but it's also another example of how, when we're open to that gift, and as you said, you didn't really have a heck of a lot of choice. It's who you are. When you have that, the power that comes through that. I mean, it is the power of the divine working through you, and it is true power. It is
when I connect, just like you, when you're done writing and you can just take on the world, you can do anything. That's how I feel when I work. And, and if I'm having a day and I'm like, oh gosh, I got a session. I don't want to do the session. My husband reminds me, well, you're going to feel great afterwards. So what are you talking about? Go do your session and then come back. And, and I do. I mean, I feel amazing. While I connect, I feel amazing. After I connect, I love connecting. I want to do it. Of course, I'm human. I'm here living this life like everybody else. So sometimes humanly things, get in the way or and that. But no, yeah, I love it. It's a wonderful thing, and I think we should all be searching for that. I mean, it feels good. So I think we should. But
I think so. Do you ever have that feeling, though, that because of your gift is a rather exceptional one, not everybody we all have our gifts, and I guess they're all exceptional in a certain way, but yours is kind of very unusual. And is that something that makes you feel like a stranger in a strange land sometimes?
I don't relate to other people that do my work, similar work. I don't have a similar story to anybody I've met. I've met a lot of people. I've met a lot of well-known names. I've met a lot of people nobody's ever heard of, and I don't relate very much. I have, there are things about me that baffle, other mediums, the fact that, my ears will turn red when the spirits and angels are talking to me. Nobody else does that. I've never met anybody that does that. So there is, maybe there's something different. I don't think, I'm sure that there are other people who are like me. I just haven't met them, but I don't know. Yeah, I think I just, I guess, I don't know. It's hard to even answer that, but I just don't relate.
I think I think sometimes if you're on a spiritual course, there is, you have people around you and people that love you and people that understand you and all that, but it's always a rather solo trip. In many respects, there's a solitariness to it that I'm not sure is all bad. I don't think that's not a bad thing. It's just and on levels maybe that are kind of hard to describe. You relate very well with just about everybody. You see people and you see their pain, and you can have compassion about it, but by the same token, you're not. It's hard to be understood, I guess, or
I've never fit in.
Yeah, exactly. That's maybe a good word. That's a good word. Yeah.
I've always been friends with everyone, but I never really had a home. I have loving parents. I don't want to say that. I have loving parents. I grew up in a loving home, but I never really had a true sense of belonging. I met my husband, and he's a bit of a loner, and we're loners together, if that's possible. We move a lot, and, we've created this wonderful family together. We're a very tight family, my husband and my kids and I, but I don't know. We're like on this kind of solitary journey together, which makes no sense. But I don't know. I think so. With my husband and my family, my children, I was able to sort of create something that I can take with me as we move around this country, for my husband's work and all of that. But I don't know. I've just been on my own thing, doing my own thing. I can't. I still go through the same lessons other people go through, though. I still have to, be a human being and make money. And I have to, I don't know, you got to go to the grocery store. You got to do all those things. And so I do all of those things. I do it. It's hard for me. I don't like the pace of this world. I think you probably heard me say that before. This world moves too fast. And, it really does. It moves really fast. And then if you look at it in terms of other places that I think that, God has for us to go and learn from, those places tend to move a lot slower. People live longer lives and things. Even on this planet, the Bible speaks of people who live very long lives but we live pretty short lives in comparison to those. So, I don't know. So it's I have my things just like everybody else but I just don't really fit in. I fit in with you. We make great friends, though, Roger.
Yeah, well, because we're very similar. We move a lot. I'm very tight with our family is a very, very, very tight little group.
Yes. Yeah.
And we're all sort of strangers in a strange land and together. And it's kind of cool in the way it works. But you see, but I'm very engaged. I had business, and very conscientious towards our investors and everybody that's involved in our business and all that. So it's not like we're disengaged at all.
Right.
But I think what I'm trying to do at this stage with my mantle on that you talked about is to, even if it's going to the grocery store, to see the wow of life in even going there and the people that you meet, because God is putting these people before you, and he puts wonders before you all over the place, even on your walks, especially on your walks in the morning.
Sure.
But you know, and so much thought, so much is going on in the upper 3 inches of our body that we can't really see. And like St. Paul, I love that visual that they paint in the Acts of the Apostles about him, about the scales falling from his eyes, because that's what happens to all of us. Is when the scales of our belief systems, the scales of our stories, the narratives that we come to believe is who we are, once they fall from our eyes and we see what's really out there, it's absolutely incredible. Even in the mundane,
I think especially in the mundane we can find,
especially in the mundane. And there's so much to catch, and yet and I'm talking mostly from my own experience, because I'm a big thinker. So you know, I think that's something that's a challenge for me, is getting out of the head. But it's working. And I would like to see it moving on from this. And I think it's something that I can share and other people can relate with. So
I agree. I think you have a lot to offer, Roger. I love your writings. I love talking to you. We've known each other for a long time. You ask the best questions, by the way. You know, I always used to say that children ask me the best questions, but now I say children and Roger Fiola ask me the best questions. That's why I got to get a hold of those recordings of us, you know, all those, we got so many hours of us just
hundreds
talking.
Of hours.
Yeah. There's a lot in there that
we went to, I mean, talk about exploring your cosmology, because I was very, very interested in it, because I'm interested in everybody's take, and yours was like nothing I'd ever heard before from anybody. And I thought, this is unique. And the most important thing is it resonated. It's like
it fits with everything. That's what I love about it. Yes, that's why I always, I love to learn here on earth and learn new things, but ultimately I learn from God. And God is my teacher, and God is where I get my cosmology. That's where that all comes from. I love to learn about what other people do, just like you like to learn about everything and that, but ultimately it's just, it comes from God. That's what I get. But I love that it fits with everything, because you can come to me, you can talk to me, you can be anything. You can be part of any religion. I am not going to trample on that. I'm going to support it, whatever it is that you are. I mean, there's a way to bring, I think, the true essence of God into everything, and including things that I think have maybe lost it a little bit, like it started there, then we kind of lost it a little bit. But I think we can bring it back. I don't think that it has to, I think you're safe with me is what I want people to know, is you're safe to come to me. I'm not gonna, when we started out, I'm still very interested in, in your journey, your faith, and I never once tried to change that. Did I? I have to ask you.
No,
I mean, did I ever try to? Did I ever shake it, or did I just offer something a little more to think about?
I think, if anything, I think probably the last 2 books of that series, and possibly even 3, were directly affected by some of the things that we talked about. And certainly the indwelling is all about that, because one of the things that you brought to my consciousness is, yes, there's a lot of stuff operating out there, but there's also a lot of stuff operating inside of us that we can access and actually relate with the world that's outside. And that's the whole crux of that book. And so I think, even though we haven't collaborated on a work yet, I think our many conversations help inform my work, and as I hope that maybe some of it informs some of your work too. Who knows?
You got me to think about things I hadn't thought about, and got me to ask God questions I had not yet asked. And so that's, I love hearing that though. So what I'm hearing you saying is that I did my job, because my job is to help people, find their true divine soul purpose is what I call it. And, and you're there, you're living it.
One other thing I'd like to say about how your work helps people, I mentioned earlier that I've directly seen how some people have been very, very comforted by your work. But I also think the afterlife, insights that you give to other people, which is about love, finding love. It's about them finding their loved ones again, and us finding our loved ones again, and that there still is relationship going on, even though it crossed this veil of death. There's still this relationship going on. It is about love, finding love, and that is, no matter at what level of spirituality you're at, whether you're at the the very literal side that, okay, I'm dying and I go to heaven and heaven is like this, that still gives people tremendous amount of comfort. Or if you're in another plane where it's just, I'm going to encounter love, that love that I have for my wife or for others around me is going to continue on forever. Right. That's just, I don't know. I thought that was a very beautiful thing and a healing thing. Going back to my amendings thing, that helps amend the heart, amend the soil of our existence. So I mean, it's exciting stuff. I mean, and it's very profound, and it's
reassuring. I think when you boil down what I do, I provide reassurance. And I think that's powerful, to be reassured that, God is really there, that our loved ones are really there.
Because we're cast naked down on this planet and helpless, and we all have to figure our way out. We have to figure our way through it. And like you said, I think you call it Earth School or some kind of expression like that. This is a particularly tough school. I think you told me once, of all the schools that are out there, this is one of the rough ones.
There's lots of them, but this one, I'm telling you, Roger, is so rough. It moves fast, and then we have so many differences that we have to deal with. And, I don't know, there's just a lot going on here. People literally are lined up to come into this planet.
Well, and this is so fun to talk to you, but what I like about that imagery is the fact that it's not supposed to be a picnic, but we're here in this time for a purpose. Somebody just said that about it, because of course the times in the United States right now are very uncertain, and in the world, and so but we're all here for a reason, and we're all in this place for a reason. And I believe now that my reason, besides, doing my business and making sure I'm doing everything ethically and with integrity and all that, is also to kind of let what's flowing out from me, get out into the world. And so, and I hope it finds its way. That's all I care about.
I think it will. Yes, I think it will.
I don't care to get rich from it. Believe me, that's the last thing I care about. But I hope it finds its way out to the people that need it. And that is what's most important. But God wants us to be prosperous as well. So I hope that you do get prosperity from it. And it's been really wonderful talking with you, Roger. We're going to have you come back on the show again. I'd love to.
Yeah, perhaps when Indwelling is released or before. But I just want to remind everybody, we're talking with Roger Fiola, and his series is The Traveler's Tale. There's 4 books. Go check them out. It's discoverings, openings, amendings, and returnings. So, and then we're all waiting on indwelling. So I'm excited for that to come around.
I am too. I really am.
It is. I think it's going to be really wonderful. But thank you again, Roger. And I just want to tell everybody to remember that God loves you, and I'm sending angels your way.
If you'd like to learn more about Missy Reno Smith, please visit missyrenosmith.com to book a reading and purchase her artwork. You can find the In Spirit podcast on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook, and wherever you stream your podcasts.